Namaskar, I am Manikuntala Bhattacharya from Assam. Now I am going to read some stanzas from my poetry and some paragraphs from my short story and novel in Hindi or English. First, I love to read one of my most popular poem. Uh, First, I love to read in my mother tongue Assamese, and later on, I'm going to read in English. It's called Love. প্ৰেম যাক তুমি ভাল পাবা তেওঁৰ সৈতে বিয়াত নবহিবা নুখুজিবা তেওঁৰ সৈতে শুবলৈ সদায় একেলগে খাবলৈ অথবা অনৰ্গল কথা পাতিবলৈ যাক তুমি ভাল পোৱা তেওঁৰ বাবে বুকুৰ মাজত ৰুই ল'বা গছ ছায়া দিয়া গছ সদায় মনত ৰাখিবা যাক তুমি ভাল পোৱা তেওঁ তোমাৰ কোনো নহয় তেওঁতো কৃষকৰ শস্য কাহানিও নুঘালিবা তেওঁ শিপা সদায় মনত ৰাখিবা যাক তুমি ভাল পোৱা তেওঁ তোমাৰ কোনো নহয় তেওঁতো পানী তেওঁতো উশাহ যি নহ'লে জীয়াই নাথাকা তুমি Now I am going to read it in English and it's translated by my daughter Akanksha Pukon. The poem is Love. The one whom you love, do not marry that person. Do not desire to sleep together or to eat or to converse endlessly. The one whom you love, for him plant a shady tree in your bosom. Create an image for him. Touch him with your hand of Eve and silently be proud for the being of owner of that image. Always remember whom you love is no one to you. The one whom you love, he is the harvest of farmer. Never uproot his roots. Whatever he gives, that is the achievements for you. Whenever you accept him, that is love. Love is your life's ultimate destiny, your utmost need, although he is the best desire for you. Yet you never bind him, and your world is still beautiful only because of him. Always remember whom you love is no one for you. Always remember whom you love is no one for you. He is the water, he is the air you breathe, without which you cannot live. Thank you. Now I am going to read one of my other poems. It's called in Assamese ভাল ছোৱালী দুৱাৰ মুখত ৰৈ নাথাকে আলিবাটৰ মানুহক তাই উপজাচি নামাতে and I love to read it in Hindi and it's translated by Utpal Lekha. अच्छी लड़की इंतजार नहीं करती दहलीज पर अच्छी लड़की इंतजार नहीं करती दहलीज पर खुद आवाज नहीं लगाती गुजरते हुए मुसाफिरों को अच्छी लड़की पैर नहीं रखती विद्रोह की शिला पर मिट्टी हो जाती है उसकी एरिया माँ की परछाई का अनुसरण करते हुए अच्छी लड़की के दिल में रमता नहीं प्रेम अच्छी लड़की के दिल में रमता नहीं प्रेम बसता है केवल संस्कार धूप से उसका आलिंगन नहीं तर्क से उसकी पहचान नहीं धूप से उसका आलिंगन नहीं तर्क से उसकी पहचान नहीं वो बुनती है तो सिर्फ गर्भे में बैठकर चुपचाप सपनों का फूल था एक समय हमारे देश में भी ऐसा जब सघन हटी थी ऐसी लड़कियां अब एक एक जा रही है बुढ़ापे की ओर और हो रही है बिना प्रतिवाद के वृद्धाश्रम Now I am going to read a paragraph, one of my short story. It's translated by Pooja Rajkumari from my short story collection, How I Wish. Rashida nearly falls upon the manager. No, he did not look frightened. There was bloodstains on his shirt and dhoti. He said, he said to Rashida, "Take your husband and get into my car." Rashida's husband was lying under the office table. His body was covered with blood. A little away from him, lying on the floor, was Hamid, who had just joined the meal as a helper. Rashida almost falls on her husband. Thank God, he was alive and breathing. The stroke of a sword had gone through his leg and was bleeding. She moves the table. He opens his eyes as he is spoken by her. Then she shakes. Hamid, no, he has turned into stone. Again she goes to her husband and pulled him up. The sound of starting of the car was heard. They got into the manager Babu's car. She could not control herself and said, "Only Allah knows how Ramdev is. He too has gone out with them," the manager said without looking back. Rashida trembled with fear. "Ramdev has gone out with those people. Gone out to kill Muslims like her and her husband. But why? Why this killing and counter-killing are taking place, Manager Babu?" Riot. Darkness falls. They enter Setarji Babu's house from the back door. In the storeroom, Rashida spread a bedsheet on the floor that her husband could lie down there. Manager's daughter, a medical student, enters the room with a lamp in her hand. She dresses his wound and prescribes some medicines as well. She raises the lamp towards Rashida's face and says, "Here every person is Hindu, so tell so tell a Hindu name if somebody asks your name. Take this kumkum and put a bindi on your forehead." Rashida looked at her and become emotional. Rashida looks at her and becomes emotional. Hardly could she utter the words, "Our religion." "Don't talk about religion now. Save your lives first." "But what wrong have we done?" "Nobody have done anything. In fact, Muslims are also killing us Hindus." "But why these killings are taking place? We all are living in our own country, earning our own bread. Our country is going to be independent. Hindus and Muslims are not going to live together." Next morning, everybody sees the red bindi of vermilion on Rashida's forehead. As she starts cleaning the courtyard of Chatterjee's house, somewhere at a distance, the morning news is blaring from a loudspeaker. Manager Mr. Chatterjee comes out brushing his teeth. His daughter had thrown a fleece full of broken rice in the courtyard to feed the pigeons, and they came out from the nest. Rashida stops and, like Manager Babu and other members of the household, she also tries to concentrate on the news. But this time, her husband, who had hearing difficulties, watches from his bed, the pigeon coming out one after another and covering the whole place. Only if the man wishes to, just like these birds, could be left free from the clear blue sky for peaceful bliss. This was my short story, The Crisis. And now I am going to read my uh, um, one or two paragraphs from my novel Kasar Pyramid. In Assamese, it's called Kasar Pyramid, and it's English Glass Pyramid, translated by Parvina Rashid. A week had passed. During the second week of his departure, she saw a rickshaw going towards their hut. She was going to the stream. The man sitting on the rickshaw looked like Sher Singh. Her heart skipped a beat. Holding her breath, she immediately turns back, lets him It's him or is not it? Why did he come back so soon? Still she rushed back. She saw a rickshaw turning back after dropping the man. She took a good look at the seat where he sat. There he was, standing in front of the locked door. Nuria jumped with happiness. You are back? She asked him softly. She felt like running to him and hug him tight, but looking at his face she did neither. She just walked past him and unlocked the door. She kept water in the washroom and gave him a fresh pair of kurta pajama. Take a bath. He kept his bag on the floor and even without opening his shoes he lied down on his bed. She was surprised. Are you unwell? He did not reply. She removed his shoes. She brought a wet gamucha and sitting close to him, she wiped his face and neck. Then she started cooking. He ate just a little and walked out. Even at night, when he returned, he remained quiet. Is everything all right at home? She asked. Hmm. Did they let you come back so soon? I could not have stayed back knowing that my employer was incurring losses. Her arms, which wrapped him from behind, lost their strength. Slowly she removed herself. He did not react. Soon after, he started snoring loudly, and Nuria, like those days when she could not sleep without Shersing by his side, remained sleepless despite him being there. He did not come back for her. She wondered what could be the reason which pushed him into depression. The next day he revealed it, but she wished he had not. She felt dizzy and took to bed. At night he tried to console her. My parents had given their words to that girl long back. I had told you about her. Have pity on me. That moment I reached home, my parents started making arrangements for the wedding. You did not tell them about me? I did. Nobody listened to me. Strange. Anybody did not listen to you? You did not speak about me at all? Her voice was breaking down. He said, we are not going to throw you out anyway. But what? She sat down on the bed. Something was choking her inside. But what? That I am not a sick, right? No, no, don't lie to me. Yes, that's not the reason. The reason is that I am the only son of my family. So I need to carry forward the name of my family. I need to have children. The tears in her eyes dried up. The pain which was inflicted in her chest disappeared. She got down from the bed and she opened the door. It was full moonlight. She started missing her home. She missed her mother, her brothers. She missed her mango trees. She also missed even those eyes of Nuruddin, who used to sell surma. Was there any differences between the look in his eyes and Shersing's eyes? The pair of eyes too spoke the same language. The only differences was that Shersing expressed it and asked her to come along with him to build a new place to share a new dream with him. Now what happened? She came inside, but she didn't close the door. She asked him in a dry voice, why didn't you stay back? He was snoring. Running to him, she removed the mosquito net and started shaking him. He sat down. He said, I have responsibility here also. What responsibility? The truck? Did you tell her that you sleep with a woman called Nuria? Yes. Huh? What did she say now? What did he say? She cried a little, then said, go. But you will have to come back soon. I will have to go back. So you left some responsibilities also, dear. She is nice. And me? Am I bad? Where did I fail you? The moonlight has entered the room through the open door. He kept starting at the night. Thank you.